you and me. Back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavismiley.com. That's thetavismiley.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, a conversation with Patrick Kennedy, former member of Congress and the youngest child of the late Senator Edward M. Ted Kennedy. Patrick's latest text is titled Profiles in Mental Health Courage. I suspect we'll also get his thoughts on his family's feelings about his cousin, RFK Jr., at Health and Human Services. In our third hour, two conversations. Up first, Ty Floyd from Alabama A&M on her dream job as the first full-time female voice for an HBCU football program, starting with the season opener against Arkansas next month. On the B side of our three, just ahead of this weekend's induction ceremony at Cooperstown, Hall of Fame shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals, Ozzie Backflippin' Smith, on the Smithsonian exhibit that he helped to create called The Souls of the Game, Voices of Black Baseball. Look forward to Ozzie Smith on the backside of our three. But in this first hour today, a tribute to actor and musician Malcolm-Jamal Warner, who, according to authorities in Costa Rica, died Sunday at age 54 from an accidental drowning while vacationing with his family in Costa Rica. We broke this story live in this program yesterday. It was a sad day yesterday. Of course, Malcolm was beloved for playing the son Theo on The Cosby Show. He went on to star in a number of other TV series and was also a musician with his own band. I had no idea that my talk with Malcolm in November of 2022 would be our last public conversation, but indeed it was, and it was a good one. Your being on The Cosby Show as Theo all those years ago really did, in fact, set the stage for you to have a very long career in the public eye. If I'm right about that, tell me how, the ways in which it did, in fact, set the stage for all the stuff you've done since then and will continue to do.
Sure. Well, I think, I've always said that, when people say what's for you is for you, right? Mm-hmm. And, all of the roles that I did not get before Cosby, Cosby clearly made up for that. My father named me Malcolm-Jamal. He named me after Malcolm X and Ahmad Jamal. My father was very active in the civil rights movement. He, when I would go to Chicago on my summer vacations to spend my summers with him, he had this thick book called Great American Negroes, and chapters on Richard Wright, Langston Hughes, Mary McLeod Bethune, Marian Anderson, everybody. And I used to have to read these chapters and write book reports for him during my summer vacation, right? So when I grew up and, as a kid watching television and watching Black people on television, I was watching these shows because I was aching to see people like me on television, but I could never relate to any of these shows. So when I got on Cosby, for me, it was like, oh, wow, this is like, not only am I on the show, but this is a show that I would love to watch. Mm-hmm. So with that, it gave me, I think it was really the first show. I mean, I'll say before that, I was a huge fan of Benson. I was a huge fan of Robert Dio, right? Like, that was the kind of comedy, that was the kind of comedy I liked. Benson was always the smartest dude in the room, right? Mm-hmm. So his kind of humor is what, is what I dug. That's what entertained me. That's what fed me. So on Cosby, I felt like, wow, here's a show that actually, even though my life is nothing like the Huxtables, there's something about this show that my soul can relate to, right? So there's that. And But as you remember, when Cosby first came out, out the gates, the numbers were phenomenal.
Yep.
And my mother, speaking of my mother, my dear mother, I'm 14 years old, and my mother sits me down. She says, "Listen, baby, it's great that this show is the phenomenon that it is, but you know how this business is. This show can be over next year. What are you going to do when the show is over?" Mm-hmm. She said, "I can type. I can always get a job. But what are you going to do when the show's over?" So at 14 years old, she impressed upon me the concept of longevity. Mm-hmm. And she was like, if you want longevity in this business, look at anyone who has longevity. They have periods when they're hot and periods when they're not. Mm-hmm. And what you have to decide to do, if you want longevity, you have to decide what you're going to do. So in those periods you're not hot, you're not making desperate acting choices. Mm. So this is me at 14 years old on the number one show in the world. Mm. And my mother has me thinking about life after this show. Yeah. So when I look at where I am now, I mean, trust me, the grind has been a grind. The grind is still a grind. Once, The Resident is over and we're in 6th season, the grind is going to continue. So there's always been a grind. Mm-hmm. But where I am, we set the marathon, if you will. We planned for the marathon early on.
Yeah. Thank you for indulging me in that regard. And for those who did not know where the name Malcolm-Jamal Warner came from, now you know. With a name like that, named after those two iconic African Americans, he had no choice but to be a success. if you go carry that kind of name. So again, for those who had never heard that, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Malcolm. Go ahead.
I said I was 15 when it hit me, and I remember calling my father up. I said, "Hey man, you set me up," and all he did was laugh.
Well, he set you up, but you measured up, and that's a beautiful thing. More of my last public conversation with Malcolm-Jamal Warner from November of 2022 when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley show conversation with James Farr. At one point, James said something that caught me off guard. Not because it wasn't true, but because it is. Black Altadena is gone. I know it may seem stupid and non-productive, but I stopped in that moment listening to Tavis and James. I broke down and cried. In the back of my mind, I told myself we can bring it back like it was. But James Farr's reality check hit me like a ton of bricks. My community is being murdered. I said murdered, not by the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire, but by the people we elect to protect us, and by greedy and gatekeeping nonprofits who cannot see the forest for the trees. For the first time since the fire, I truly feel and understand my wife's inconsolable pain. Because I'm struggling to find a path to recovery and at least some form of normalcy. My community is crumbling right in front of my face. Lack of funding to rebuild is slowly destroying us. Many of us can no longer hold out, and developers are gobbling up our property. When I hear voices like Tavis Smiley and James Farr speak truth to power on KBLA Talk 1580, it reminds me that we're not crazy, just unheard. Make no mistake here, KBLA delegation, this is war, and we the people of Black Altadena are losing. It's like waiting for reparation. Not gonna happen, brother. In this new orange man world, no one, no entity is persuaded by right or wrong. There is no consequence for doing the wrong thing, and no accolades or support for doing the right thing. Will war-torn Black Altadena survive? Your guess is as good as mine. But what have I got to lose? I'm in my 70s and don't have time to wait. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once suggested that riots break out when people have no hope. But there's nothing left to burn down in Altadena. I wish I could say I remain hopeful that my beloved community will rise again like a phoenix from the ashes. I wish I could. With a KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Pasadena Community Coalition at gmail.com. Reach out to me. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Freedom is an endless meeting, so let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Shaking the dust off, 'cause it's a brand new day. Taking all my bad habits, tossing them all away. Feel the sun rays warming my face, leaving the darkness behind. It's a brand new day.
Deaf, dumb, blind, halfway out of my mind when I feel this flow. So I let go. Like, look, ma, no hands, as I search to overstand my inner child gone wild. See, we throw tantrums that temper the cold of the winter. It's into the dragon when my spiritual center starts swagging. Wing Chun over lost ones who live for bragging, but no substance. Let me interrupt this with a public service announcement, a denouncement of all that threatens to weigh me down. Just to get by, just to get high enough to shed these tears of a clown. Running around, running away, running astray, aimless, shucking the self-control that could have tamed this from the get-go. An Amber Queen once told me that I say can't and I don't know more than she'd expect from a king, and that there's nothing sexy about resurrecting negative thought patterns that no longer serve my growth and potential, no matter how instrumental they once may have been in motivating my mojo. Life
Just wanted to give you a taste of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's work in case you've not heard it. For that, he won his first Grammy alongside Robert Glasper and Ledisi. That one's called Brand New Day. And I am honored to have Malcolm-Jamal Warner in conversation in this hour. We were talking a moment ago about how you got that name, Malcolm-Jamal Warner. I thought about the Shakespeare line, what's in a name? A great deal in the name Malcolm-Jamal Warner. So we'll talk about his spoken word stuff. We're going to play a piece from his latest project in a second here. But he mentioned The Resident a moment ago, and I want to start with that because he's acting, of course, as one of the stars in the current Fox medical drama, The Resident. And if I'm correct, you directed last week's episode, Malcolm-Jamal?
Yeah, last night's episode.
Last night, it was last night. Yeah, it's Tuesday night, election night. I can't keep my days straight. Yeah,
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So the acting thing, the directing thing continues to work for you. But you're doing both on the project. For those who've not seen, and most of us have, it's 6 seasons in. For those who've not seen The Resident, tell me about The Resident.
The Resident is a medical drama. We're on Fox and Hulu. One of the things that I really love about the show is from the very beginning. Whether you're into medical dramas or not, what sets this show apart is it really deals with the not so nice elements of the medical industry, hospital mishaps and hospital cover-ups, corporate takeovers, profits over patients, the disparity in maternal birth rates, maternal death rates between African American women and everybody else. It really deals with all of these very important issues head on, unabashedly and unapologetically.
I'm pausing here because one of the things I love about what you're doing now in The Resident is that, again, it's showing stuff that we don't typically see. You're on a really smart show, and I raise that because we came to know you being on a really smart show. How fortunate have you been to be, whether it's a drama or whether it's a sitcom, to be cast in stuff that's really smart, Malcolm-Jamal?
it's a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
But it also means sitting out a lot between stuff that I turn down
Mm-hmm.
and stuff that I bust my ass to get and don't get.
Mm-hmm.
There are longer periods of unemployment than I would like.
Mm.
But my thing was, once I got off Cosby, I felt like, well, I can't go from everything that show stood for, and turn around and do work that perpetuates the negative stereotype of my people.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that there's a lot of work that I don't get in between, the smart choices, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. How have you navigated in your career? And your mother, Pam, who we'll talk about in a second here, was right when she told you at 14 there'll be ups and downs in your career. What you want is longevity here. How have you navigated? I suspect it's in part why you do so many things and so many things well. But how have you navigated these long periods of unemployment in your career?
Well, early on it was the directing.
Mm-hmm.
When I left Cosby, I had directed half a dozen episodes of Cosby. I've been directing Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, bunch of music videos. So once I got off Cosby, the directing was the thing that kept me working in between acting gigs.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but at some point, what was happening for me was the politics and the integrity battles that I was having as an actor. Because my sensibilities are the same as a director, I was having those same kind of integrity battles, and being in this business, as you know, being in this entertainment business, and having a set of values,
mm-hmm.
and being and having a certain level of consciousness, makes for a more challenging road.
Yeah.
So what was happening for me was because I was having these same battles on the acting front and on the directing front, at some point I realized that if I just kept my eggs in both of these baskets, that this business would break my heart.
Mm.
And it was during that time where, poetry found me again.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to express myself in ways that I could not as an actor or as a director.
Mm.
So the directing kind of took a backseat a bit, and, the poetry and then, the music and then melding the two just really took off. And that has been the thing that has kept me creatively fulfilled in between gigs.
Yeah.
Keeps me from just sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring. So at some point I, embrace the fact that I evolved into not just an actor, but I evolved into being an artist.
Yeah.
And I have these several avenues of creative expression available to me.
Yeah. I'm laughing because as you intimated quite nicely, this business is a great deal easier to navigate if you don't live your life by a certain set of immutable principles, right? If you don't, if you're not living your life by those principles, it makes it a whole lot easier to navigate this business. But having said that, I assume you don't have any regrets, though. You have no regrets about living by your principles, though. Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Not at all. And even though there may be some things in my body of work that I may cringe at because of my acting,
right?
There's nothing in my body of work that I will cringe because of the type of role that I took.
No, I got it. I take that.
There's nothing in my body of work that will make me embarrassed. It would be an embarrassing representation of me and my folks.
That circles back to what you said earlier, and when you said it echoed of conversations I've had with my friend, Denzel Washington, and my dearly departed friend Sidney Portier, who I had lunch with for almost 27 years every other Tuesday. But the one thing that Portier and Dee have in common is that they will tell you in conversation that their careers are really defined not by the roles that they took, but the roles they turned down. And nobody ever talks about that. But that resonates with you, given what you said earlier, does it not?
Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah, man, that's I had never heard that either of them say that, but yeah, 100%. There's so much, oh gosh, I mean, just if you if people knew how many how many roles I've turned down.
Yeah.
There's just when it comes to having a platform, when it comes to having the blessing of having a sustainable career, that for me, there's also a responsibility that comes with that.
Right.
So there was a time where I used to be really judgmental about cats who would accept these roles that I turned down, right? Because I'm like, they clearly have no social consciousness. But then at some point, I got to a level of maturity and realized, listen, man, everyone doesn't have the financial wherewithal, that blessing to be able to say no to work.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of, back up off of that and just say, hey, you know what? Let me deal with my circle of influence. Let me deal with the things that I'm responsible for, and not hold judgment against other actors who make different choices.
Yep. Nope. I received that. To your mind, since you went there, I want to follow you, Malcolm-Jamal. What is the difference between being an actor and being an artist?
That's great. I think an actor is also an artist. What I was referring to was, recognizing that I'm not just an actor.
Gotcha.
So when I looked at, acting, directing, writing, producing, musician, poet, once I really looked at all of those avenues, and no one defines me.
Right.
Right. I am all of those things. So that's what I meant in terms of embracing being an artist and not just an actor.
Were there moments after Cosby when you were typecast? And I raise that because if you're going to be typecast, you can't be typecast for anything better than Cosby. You played a powerful and beautiful role. We all adored you and still do, for that matter, of course. So if you're going to be typecast, I guess there ain't nothing better to be typecast for. But were there periods where you were typecast as Theo and couldn't get work?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've been typecast. I think up until maybe the last 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Like one of the things I love about The Resident is I get to play a guy. My character, Dr. Austin, is one of the top cardiothoracic surgeons in the country. He is, he's arrogant, he's brash, and he's not arrogant because he's overcompensating. He's arrogant because he knows his stuff and he spent his life, studying and mastering his craft. And he can be I know we're on radio, so I can't say the word I want to say, but he can be he can be a genital.
Yeah, I got
a lot
you.
of people.
I got you.
And so for me, it's great to be able to play this kind of role because I go, wow, this gives me a chance to play who I don't allow myself to be in real life.
Yeah, I got you.
So between this and a couple of roles that I was doing before this, I think they all just kind of set me up to finally turn that tide. That people can actually, if they actually look, they can see that there's way more in my bag than what I had been being cast as for so much of my career.
When we come forward after news, traffic, and sports, I'm going to give the audience a piece of your project, Hiding in Plain View. Before I do that, in the 90 seconds I have left, say a word about your mother. I can't imagine having met you or known you all these years without the role, the influence your mother has played in your life, Malcolm.
Yeah. My mother has been, when I was a little boy, kids used to call me a mama's boy. And I hated that term for so much of my life until I got older.
Yeah.
It was running into Lennox Lewis.
And
we had this whole conversation about being a mama's boy. And he helped me reframe that. I am proud to be my mother's son.
Yes.
She has, everything that I stand for, she and my father have poured into me. my father, my father doesn't get as much play as my mother because my mother was, my, she was the person who I lived with and raised me on a daily basis. But, so much of who I am and how I carry myself and how I interact with people, the level of spirituality that I have, so much of that comes from my mother. Without her, I would be a completely different person. And I'm so eternally grateful to her to this day.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says there won't be a vote on the Epstein files before August.
If further congressional action is necessary or appropriate, then we'll look at that. But I don't think we're at that point right now.
He's urging Attorney General Pam Bondi to explain her past claims about a client list. President Trump called the files a hoax, but some Republicans want Ghislaine Maxwell to testify. Kamala Harris marks 1 year since launching her historic 2024 campaign. Though she lost to Trump, she's weighing a 2026 run for California governor or another shot at the presidency in 2028. Harris says, "We are in this fight together." And a Black Detroit teacher and her husband adopted a foster student to help her stay in school and the community. Nicole Brabson was inspired by the film Sound of Hope and worked with the Village at Munford program to give student Brittany a permanent home and place at Munford High School. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app. Now back to Terry McCready.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and more for a child in poverty. And there are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers snapped a 3-game losing streak last night. They beat Minnesota 5-1 at Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers got 2 home runs from catcher Will Smith and 1 by Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani now has 35 homers this season. The Angels had a 4-0 lead last night in New York against the Mets but couldn't hold it. They lost 7-5. The Angels had chances to put the Mets away. They left 8 men on base. The LA Sparks are back in action tonight after the WNBA All-Star break. They're in Washington, D.C. to take on the Mystics. The Sparks are aiming for their first 3-game winning streak this season. If you're a fan of Southern California rapper Tyler, the Creator, you'll see LeBron in the video promoting his new song, Stop Playing With Me. The song and video dropped on Monday. Also in the video is LeBron's business manager, Maverick Carter. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we aim to foster enlightening, sustainable, restorative dialogue, and we welcome unapologetically progressive viewpoints that empower fellow citizens. We are now accepting submissions for KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorials like this one.
For the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley Show conversation with James Farr. James said something that caught me off guard. Black Altadena is gone. My community is being murdered. I said murdered.
All you have to do is go to our website homepage at KBLA1580.com and click on the icon that says KBLA Guest Editorials to learn more about our editorial standards and content submission guidelines. As long as the topic aligns with our mission, we are happy to review your submission and consider it for broadcast. We can't make any promises, but we want to amplify progressive perspectives that are community-focused and solution-oriented. So, go to KBLA1580.com right now to download all the information you need about our guest editorials. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Paid for by Government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
The issue a lot of times with a black boy, right, is that you don't want to have to necessarily beat a black boy. You want to love him so fiercely. You want to love him so divinely that your disappointment would kill him. That's the catch. For him to adore you so intensely that what he wants most in the world is never to disappoint you.
Malcolm-Jamal Warner, tell me about that piece.
Secret weapon I have on this record is that gentleman, Dr. Daniel Black, who is the assistant professor of African American Studies at Clark Atlanta. And I had a conversation with him sometime last year, about an hour conversation, because there's a song on the album called Asante Sana, and there's a long music bed. So I wanted to get some sound bites from him to put on this music bed, but he dropped so many gems that I had to put him throughout the album. And, I will go as far to say that this album is not only my most important album, I think it's also one of the more important albums to come out in 2022. And his contribution is, a big part of why I say that, because he's talking about issues, involving black boys. And he says things in a way that if we can reframe and look at a different approach of how we interact and how we raise black boys, that's going to have a profound impact on how they interact with black girls, and then how black men interact with black women. And there's a lot on the record that calls for a level of self-healing amongst ourselves. So I say that this record is for us. It's for black boys, black girls, black men, black women, black people, and also for non-black people who have foresight enough to see that our self-healing is an invitation for them to explore their own self-healing.
That piece was a bit short, powerful and poignant, but short. Here's a longer piece. In the album, the project that Malcolm-Jamal is referring to is called Hiding in Plain View. It's called Hiding in Plain View, might win him another Grammy Award. This piece is a little bit longer, but I think you'll enjoy it. Take a listen to this piece from Malcolm-Jamal Warner's project, Hiding in Plain View.
Vulnerability can be a scary thing, even when we're on the mend. Black boys boast bravado not to seem broken, and often so do black men. I see you, looking for clues, searching for cues, longing to know what I'm not telling you, as if I'm hiding in plain view. Even though I speak my truth, for some it just doesn't seem to be enough. But when red tables turn timidly, some say they tell too much when they talk. My most intimate thoughts belong to me, like a woman's body when she says no. So I reserve the right to go as far as I'd like, and though I live in the public eye, I don't subscribe to the dog and pony show. I've learned to discern who cannot accept all of me. I read the room before I speak, because I find that folks flee from honesty like we retreat from love. Vulnerability can be a scary thing, even when we're on the mend. Black boys boast bravado not to seem broken, and often so do black men. My relationship with rejection reeks of stale smiles and toxic tear stains that shed secretions of trepidation. And since astute sharks sense fear so sharply, sometimes I feign confidence like young girls dumb down and grown women fake orgasms. And sometimes I refrain from revealing how I truly feel and just hang out and hide the parts of me you possibly might not like. Vulnerability can be a scary thing, right? The things we hide about ourselves don't disappear, and some we fear may slip out when least expected. An irony for me is when I wanted to be fully accepted without giving my full self. Not feeling safe enough to be vulnerable, I'd lament I was only being loved based on what I thought was safe to present. I spent years in a relationship hiding, halfway knowing I was neglecting me, allowing myself to be disrespected since I was silently disrespecting me. Friends looking at me like, yo, who is he? It's deep. A compromised soul may let you sleep, but will never let you rest. Unless you address the parts of you that can't be dressed up with a smile and an "I'm fine." So I'm on this quest to embrace a self-love so radical that I honor every aspect of my being, even the broken I'm working to heal. Dim my light for no one. Let it project with precision to keep my path bright and protect my soul and spirit like a lion protects its cubs from perilous predators day and night. Black boys boast bravado not to seem broken, and often so do black men. Vulnerability is a scary thing. And while I'm on the mend, my need is to love me and tend to my self-care. Hiding in plain view is just me choosing how much of my soul I'm willing to share. I see you.
That's wisdom speaking, Malcolm-Jamal. You are earning that name, brother, with that piece, Malcolm-Jamal.
Man,
the piece speaks for itself, but say a word about how you came to create that piece.
Yeah, that was actually the last piece I wrote on the record, and was probably the most challenging piece. And even though in my writing I speak from the soul, but that was another layer of having to peel back and really deal with some core things. Yeah, that one was definitely a process.
Yeah. It is hard for some to imagine because we see the Cosby Show in reruns all the time, but Theo is actually a father these days. Malcolm-Jamal Warner is himself a father. Again, it's just hard for your fans to, I'm sure, wrap their brains around that in some respects, even though you're not a kid anymore, a 14-year-old kid anymore.
Yeah.
But how is that reality impacting? We talked about earlier your mother and your father. How is that reality impacting your work, your witness, and your choices these days?
Yeah. Well, so earlier you played that song, Brand New Day, with featuring Lettucey. And the last line of that song, I say, I'm holding out for an iconic love like Cliff and Claire. And I met my wife the month I put that record out in 2015. If not every day, then maybe a day ago in between, where my wife does something or says something that confirms that I was right in waiting, and I was right in the choice of life mate that I made. There's I spent more of my adult years in long-term relationships than not. And before I met my wife, I had really kind of figured, okay, I've had relationships with great women, and maybe the next chapter of my life is about something bigger than a wife and family. So literally when I met my wife, I had already made peace with maybe I'm not wired for marriage. I guess I'm cool about not having kids. Once we became friends, it just kind of opened up a whole new set of possibilities. So when I walk through life now, and actually, I think having a wife and daughter really helped me, let's say, with that piece, hiding in plain view. Because at some point when, the home unit is so intact and really functioning the way it's supposed to function, then everything else does not matter as much. Like everything else is almost icing on the cake, right?
Yeah.
So when I think about how when I think about how my wife and my daughter sees me, then suddenly what other people think of me doesn't carry the same weight it had carried for so much of my life. Because we're in the public eye, and as an artist, as artists, we want to be able to not care what people think about us. But the success of our craft greatly depends upon what people think about us. So having my wife and my daughter, just everyone else's opinion that used to carry so much weight for me. It doesn't hold the same space it used to, and it's a beautiful place to be.
Interrogating and unpacking.
That's what we do around here.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you, thank you.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. That does give us certain advantages, for example, in experience and resources. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. If you're a guy facing divorce, remember, Cordell & Cordell, a partner you can count on.
1455 Frazee, San Diego. CordellCordell.com.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
About it, got it, comrade. What? Still on that freedom shit? Word? Yo, you know me and this poetry still be on that weed'em shit. That birth and inspirational couplets and breed'em shit. That I spit cats should heed 'em shit. That words can break my bones, but if you cut me, Holmes, I bleed 'em.
I'm Tavis Smiley. He's Malcolm-Jamal Warner. We are showcasing some stuff from some good stuff from his latest project. It's called Hiding in Plain View, and could end up getting him another Grammy. And it's amazing to just watch over the years. I hope Malcolm-Jamal doesn't take it the wrong way, but we all loved him so much as Theo on the Huxtable family on the Cosby Show. But just to watch all that he has done, I mean, his writing, his directing, his music, his producing, it's a beautiful thing to see. And so many persons who start out as young, as Malcolm-Jamal did, don't make it to this point. Beyond the love of your parents and beyond the fact that you are obviously talented, what do you make of the fact, Malcolm-Jamal Warner, that you've made it this far when so many other young child stars did not, have not, do not?
Yeah. You know, I have to obviously, you know, I give, you know, so much of the praise to my mother and my father.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I also have to say that I've been fortunate in that the people, the successful entertainers that I have been raised around, you know, I was exposed to a certain level of professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
And a certain way you carry yourself. And I think a lot of people, when they get into this business, you know, they look at people or the successful people they're exposed to act a certain way. They behave a certain way. And then you begin to think, oh, well, that's how you're supposed to behave when you got a little bit of fame.
Mm-hmm.
So I think so many people get caught up in what's happening now. I got a hot song out. I got a hot record out, a hot movie out. Hot TV show, and they get so caught up in the now that there's no one there who's, you know, again, impressing upon them the future. Like, what is this, you know, where are you going to be 10, 15, 20 years from now?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think having that always in the forefront of my mind, and then also just being around, you know, I mean, you know, aside from what's, you know, going on today, you know, Mr. Cosby had a really huge influence on me in terms of how to handle the job of living in the public eye.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's a difference. Like, you know, the job of an actor is over when they yell cut and you go home.
Mm-hmm.
But when you live in the public eye, it's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week gig.
Oh, yeah.
You don't get breaks unless you stay home. You got to stay in your house and keep the door closed. That's the only time you get
That's
breaks.
right. That's right. Yeah.
You know, so you have to treat it as such. And
Yeah.
I think there are, you know, unfortunately, I happen to be good at that part of my job, and I like that part of my job. But no matter how much you love your job, some days you wake up and don't feel like going to work, but you still have to get your butt up and go. And that's the difference between being a worker and a professional.
Yeah. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Malcolm-Jamal Warner, I want to allow him to let some more wisdom come through him, as you've been hearing some of the pieces from his project, Hiding in Plain View. This young brother is full of wisdom, again, being exposed to the greats he's been exposed to in his career. But I want to close on this note, what he has learned, his takeaways about how to be successfully a long-distance runner. Because whether you're an actor or a singer or a writer, producer, whatever you do in your life, whatever your vocation is, not your job, whatever your calling, your vocation is in the world, every one of us wants to be a long-distance runner. It's about consistency. I want to ask Malcolm-Jamal, as our exit question, what he's learned about what it means to be a long-distance runner.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. The Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do you do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Malcolm-Jamal Warner has so much stuff going on. Let me recap in case you tuned in late, all the stuff he has going on, that I'll give him the final word and answer to that question that I posed a moment ago. His band is called Miles Long. I don't know if you know this, Malcolm-Jamal, the guy you've been talking to, my board op, his name is Miles, the guy you've been talking to all morning. So
that's great.
Yeah. So the band is called, his jazz funk band is called Miles Long. The TV show on which he stars is called The Resident on Fox. His latest project is called Hiding in Plain View. So there you have some of the stuff that Malcolm-Jamal Warner is working on even as we speak. The exit question in the 2 minutes I have left, Malcolm-Jamal Warner, what have you learned that you can share with us about what it means to be a long-distance runner, sir?
Well, I'm glad you framed it like that, because the thing that I always talk about is if you've got a dream, if you've got a career path, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Mm-hmm. And you look around and you'll see everybody sprinting, but you can't sprint in a marathon. And when you think about the trajectory of, whatever that field is for you, you have to measure success. Like I measure success. How can I look at myself in the morning when I go to bed, in the mirror, when I look in the mirror, when I wake up in the mirror? Do I like that person that I see? Mm-hmm. Right? There's a certain piece. And thing about business is hard, because business is like, business, you got to screw people over, and that's just how you get ahead. But it's really like, peace is when you can look in the mirror and know that you have not screwed anybody over. Right? And when you live in a place of integrity, doesn't necessarily mean that everyone you come in contact with follows the same path of integrity. And that makes integrity even that much more difficult, but it's worth it.
Yeah. There's the word of the day, integrity. Malcolm-Jamal uttered it half a dozen times or more in this conversation, so clearly it's at his core, at the epicenter of everything he believes and does and undertakes, integrity. So take that as your word of the day. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, I've enjoyed this immensely. Now I can tell you to tell your mama I said hello. So now maybe that message will get to her, since mine didn't get to you. I love you, man. Stay strong. We'll do it again, brother.
All right, man. Thank you so much for the time, Tavis. I appreciate you.
My pleasure. Appreciate you. Love you, man.
Loved me some Malcolm-Jamal Warner. We did not get a chance to do it again after November of 2022, but I revel in being able to bring that conversation to you today. He was so young, but as you heard, so wise beyond his years. He didn't have a lot of years in his life, but he put a whole lot of life in his 54 years. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says there won't be a vote on the Epstein files before August.
If further congressional action is necessary or appropriate, then we'll look at that. But I don't think we're at that point right now.